Welcome back, everyone, to our Groundskeeper chat series. I'm your host, Meg Kruger, and today we are bringing you one of the most exciting topics that was discussed at SFMA. We had the opportunity to invite some of the panelists back to our booth to talk a little bit further about the topic with Drew Miller. So this is our FIFA World Cup panel discussion. Like I said, Drew Miller hosts and moderates this conversation, and he is joined by Dr. John Sorochan, Dr. Trey Rodgers, and Jose Aldrete. So the three gentlemen are three of many of the professionals that have had the opportunity to start planning, researching, preparation, and just general excitement over the World Cup that will come to the United States in 2026. And in this week's episode, you'll hear about some of the challenges that they've had in just conceptualizing how they're going to create consistent playing conditions in stadiums across the United States. So everywhere from, Canada down to Mexico and everything in between, and all the conditions, different grass varieties that they'll be faced with, stadium types, things like that. The ongoing research and preparation that they're doing currently with the 2026 World Cup. They also talk a little bit about how cool of an opportunity it's been to give their grad students the chance to play a role in the World Cup by their research being involved or just their general help in preparing for research. And then they talk a little bit about what factors people may not consider when thinking of planning for the World Cup. And lastly, Drew asks each gentleman what they're hoping the legacy of this work with the World Cup will do for the sports turf industry and for groundskeepers to come. So a great episode. Like I said, it was a topic that was highly anticipated and talked about at SFMA. So we're excited to have a podcast episode where you can hear even more. So without further ado, enjoy this special edition Groundskeeper Chat Tiger Turf Talk collaboration episode.
We're back here at the Pioneer booth here in Salt Lake City at the SFMA. Super excited for this panel with the FIFA and the general session. You guys were phenomenal. It was truly an awesome talk with everything that's going on. What was it like for you guys, sort of, obviously you've been involved for a long time, being able to go from Qatar, starting to develop sort of that plan moving forward into North America. And again, so many factors going into the types of turf grasses, closed domes, and everything that you're working towards. What are you guys so most excited about sort of moving forward here in the United States, Mexico, and Canada for the FIFA World Cup?
Well, I think, myself and Trey, we didn't really have anything to do with the Qatar, but we got to go there and observe what was going on and what was done as a foundation of what they want us to kind of achieve and maybe build off of, I would say, going towards 2026. But it really all starts back when I was an undergraduate student working for Dr. Rodgers.
Yeah.
And when he was leading the research project at the World Cup in 1994 for the Pontiac Silverdome. So a lot of this isn't new. It's beat and repeat. It's an opportunity for us to get back together and work together again. So it's great.
And from my standpoint, John, I think the way I would comment on that is that even though we made an announcement yesterday to the, when we had our meeting yesterday morning, I think that most people didn't realize that we've probably started this research about 15 months ago.
Absolutely.
And we started off with some work in North Carolina and have moved that to Michigan and both Tennessee. So we're underway, as they say.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's always that we're ready to go mentality, but it really started like a year ago. There are so many things going into the decision-making process and whatnot. What are some of the things that you guys are focusing on? Obviously, the domes are going to be a big part of everything that you're doing. What are you focusing on research-wise after 15 months already moving forward with everything that you're working towards? What is it that you're really focusing on in these early stages heading towards, again, that overall plan for the World Cup?
There's 16 stadiums, and not one stadium is going to be the same. Each one's going to be something very different, from 9,000 feet at Mexico City to sea level cool season grass, sea level warm season grass, middle of the country transition zone, all sorts of everything you want to imagine, including 5 indoor stadiums. So we, first and foremost, is we categorized and broke down each stadium and grouped them. And, the biggest and the most challenges is going to be the indoor stadiums in planning research for that. Utilizing the technologies of, like Trey had said, on sawed-on plastic and getting that executed early so we can start doing testing indoors and reduce lights, and then also doing outdoor research as well.
And we're going to have to develop a system that we think we can put it into these dome situations, okay, a turf system. And, I don't think it's going to look like the traditional system that everybody thinks about, with 10-inch root zone, 12-inch root zone. I don't think it's going to look like that. And then the other thing that we have to do that we'll focus on for the end of this year will be how to manage that grass once it's inside. We have the responsibility of the field managers that are going to be assigned these 5 dome stadiums to be their support mechanism.
100%. What is that time frame install to final cup game when it comes to beginning to end for you guys? What are you researching time frame for growth and maintenance for the World Cup?
I think it's fair to say we probably are in that 60-day range.
Okay.
And we'd love it if it was shorter.
Absolutely, I'm sure.
And a big part of what we do is the communication with each of the stadiums, and knowing what's going on and learning from them what each of their challenges are for each stadium, so we can help work with the management plan for them.
Absolutely. What are you guys sort of most excited about? Again, it's such a big event. There are so many incredible things that are come out of this, and you guys being at the ground level, you have so much going on. What excites you the most against, again, these next 4 years preparing, meeting here for one of your preliminary meetings when it comes to everything? Again, coherently just working together so that everything is great. And again, you guys do phenomenal work, so it's without a doubt it's going to happen. So what are you most excited for when it comes to all this?
I'll say for me, the thing that's going to be most excited is I'm where I'm at right now because of the opportunity that Dr. Rodgers gave me to work on this World Cup project and to do what I'm doing that I love to do. And we've got a group of undergraduates, graduate students, and technicians that are working with us on this project. And, 20, 25 years later, what's going to come from this 10, 25 years? What those students are going to learn and get to grow from this that's probably the thing that excites me the most, is the opportunities that it's going to open for them.
Absolutely.
And the 94 World Cup, there was a lot of money that went into the technologies that then got used for a full generation, whether it be soils, modules, sawed-off plastic, got used for a full generation by turf managers. So I think probably for me, the excitement, in addition to the graduate students that John mentioned, which I think is always very important, is the legacy that we can leave. And it'll trickle down a long ways, I think.
Absolutely.
I would say that for us as a host city, as a stadium management perspective, the most exciting thing is that we've been searching for this kind of unity since we first started operating the building 10 years ago. So now it comes to be reality. And the way that we were trying to find FIFA, the experts like John and Trey as doctors is matter. It's very exciting to us because we feel very confident where we are guided to a very, very professional product that is going to be top of the line, and it's going to be very avant-garde technology. And I think one of the things that I like the most is you only have these chances life once. It's not very common that this type of professionals are so high level and so passionate and so dedicated to what they do come together in one single project, which by this time it's the biggest project ever in the sporting world. So I think that's very exciting. We are ready to start, and we are anxious to see what the process and the way is, and what of course is going to be the outcome of this amazing synergy for all.
That's incredible. And I did want to touch base with, again, the grad students and everything. In your general session, you guys brought up a slide with all the different people who are involved and with everything that has to do with that. What are sort of their roles when it comes to research-based, event-based time? What is sort of your guys' plan moving forward with those students? Again, it's going to change their lives. You know, it's something that you can't replicate in any fashion, really, with any sporting venue event. When it comes to, I mean, baseball, you don't have a big event like this where it's truly monumental for a country to host this event. What is it going to be sort of plan-wise for the use of those students and other individuals when it comes to management and all that research you guys are going to be doing here in the next 4 years?
We think, the thing about the graduate students is we're even going to be unique in the way that their projects go, because our plan right now, we're building two domes, and one in Tennessee and one in Michigan.
Absolutely.
And the idea there is they'll be the same. But if they're the same, then the experiment that maybe we study a growth regulator. We've got a graduate student named Jake Gilby, and he's going to study growth regulators. Well, he'll start his experiment at Michigan State, and at the same time, we'll start the exact same experiment in Tennessee. So we'll be able to accomplish what normally takes 2 seasons, we'll accomplish in 1.
That's awesome.
And that really hasn't been done like that. And so the students themselves, Michigan State and Tennessee students, they'll be essentially doing 1, 2, 3 experiments at the same time for their buddy, for the person in Tennessee, for the person in Michigan. They'll be very busy.
Yep, I agree. And, it's an evolution. There's going to be one project leads to the next, and we're going to be building off of a lot of different things that will be going on simultaneously. But also, as we get to World Cup, there's 5 dome stadiums that don't have turf grass managers that manage grass. Absolutely. So, that might be an opportunity for some of these students to be in and be involved on the execution of taking the research and what we learn in these domes to fruition and actually helping be a part of those teams in each of those stadiums.
And even beyond that, because there's still 3 stadiums that don't have any grass at all. And then if any of our neighbors in the south need any help, we'll send them down there. So these students they're overjoyed right now.
Absolutely. It should be.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Be able to assist in any way they can.
For sure. Absolutely. So you sort of spoke to this, the wide range of Canada to Mexico City to the microclimates, elevation, the stadiums, the issues they bring. What is sort of your starting point when it comes to species selection, focusing on light issues? How are you guys sort of making those decisions, sort of starting off? Obviously you guys have a great foundation from all the research you've done over the years, all the work you've done. What are some of the steps right now where we're going to start with this and we're going to see how it goes, and then moving forward, how we adapt to that? What does that process sort of look like for you guys here in the next few years?
I think you start with the sod on plastic.
Perfect.
All right, so when you're growing that, then you have to determine what species is going to perform the best, how fast can you get it ready. We're going to, as made to transfer this knowledge to the sod farms and then ask them to get this ready. You keep talking only about stadiums. We know we're going to have at least enough practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even more than that.
Yeah.
So there's lots of sod and specifications that need to be laid out there, and that will take up a lot of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there might be as many as, I think Alan said, 130 training facilities. So that's and base camp. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
And many of those right now in different cities are also artificial that need to be converted to grass. And so we'll have to come up with systems for them to do that as well over maybe.
But I don't think you're going to see us come up with a new grass.
No, not at all. No, for sure.
It's going to be Bermuda grass. It's going to be Kentucky bluegrass. It's going to be some perennial ryegrass, and it's not going to be much past that, probably.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And I think as venue managers, we have to be very active, giving the input to John and Trey to let them know what we know already from our perspective, of course, because we've been there for 10 years. And I think any data that we can share with them, of course, it's going to be very useful for them to achieve their seeking for this process.
Absolutely. Sorry, you're good.
No, that's exactly it. Getting the footprint and the observation of each of the stadiums and the unique climates that each of them presents, and even just weather patterns those times of year that are typical will all come into play.
I mean, it's going to be the heart of the summer, right? I don't pay attention that close to the World Cup. So when it comes to that time frame, there are so many things that go into it, like you're talking about venues and all of these things. What are some of the big sort of takeaways that you've had in your experiences, obviously doing World Cups at other places and doing research 94 on? What are some of the big takeaways that you think are a must-have when it comes to facilities, either practice or stadium, that you think are just going to be like standard practice? This is definitely going to be something we need. It's going to show through your research. It's going to show in everything sort of moving forward, whether it's grow lights, certain, like you're saying, game on grass, different things like that. What do you think is just going to be sort of standard practice that you think from years past is obviously going to be a this is a choice we need to make for the World Cup in 2026?
Yeah, I for my what I think about that, I think it's the goal is to have consistency and uniformity. So how do we make, potentially 146 pitches be the same and perform and same, knowing that they're going to be different and help different. So that's the main focus. And what are the management tools to make each of those 146 fields have the same ball bounce, have the same ball roll, have different athlete to surface interaction characteristics, all be the same for the athletes to feel but move from one surface to the other and not be affected by the surface itself.
Yeah, and the challenge is pretty great because we're going to the action tournament is between the middle of June and the end of July. That's the highest amount of sunlight that you're going to see for any of these stadiums. So if we live 4 months earlier or 4 months later, it'd be much different.
Slightly different.
So maybe with Chima, he doesn't worry as much about shade, but then we got 5 dome stadiums that they're 100%
Completely different.
I'll tell you what, Trey, I'll be worried about rain, which is a very important fact for that time of the year. And even we have a sun or whatever, the weather's going to be right. The rain is something that take care of.
Sure. Yeah. I hope it doesn't rain in the domes.
We're going to have some problems because that's the only benefit for you guys.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about the year flood in the dome. Hopefully. You never
know. It's terrible. Yeah. It might something bad happen, And again, there are so many, weather patterns and everything that goes into it. Like, what are you guys most concerned about when it comes to just things that are out of our control, but again, maintaining that consistency from bluegrass up in Canada down to Bermuda grass down in Mexico? Like, there are so many things. What are you really focusing on accounting for? Sorry, I don't
trying to make sure we're never sleeping. Yeah,
I think so. I'm sorry, I didn't read that.
You might want to just ask us, how many times do we wake up in the night thinking of
I'll wake myself up too. That's my punishment for asking these questions.
Yeah, no, the nice thing is we haven't, while we're starting a lot of this research now, or 18 months ago, we've been doing a lot of research for many years, and
he's veterans for sure.
But at the same time, I've got students that we finished, and that the JT that I talked about yesterday. Part of his project was looking at how bluegrass and Bermuda grass at different mowing heights and under different conditions, wet and dry, how the ball impacts for angle ball and ball bounce coming off of that surface. And so we've got an idea of a baseline to go in and say, this is what we need to expect these surfaces to be mown at. It's a slightly different mowing height that you would do for each of those grasses. But that's how the ball would perform the same. So that, I think, to me, because it's a ball on grass sport, it's really important for that. Now, do players maybe have to wear different cleats? Potentially not. We'll do work like that as well. So that's some of the things we're trying to discover.
My standpoint, it's more along the line. My focus has always been a little bit more in the area of construction.
Absolutely.
So with the idea,
here's my next questions. Perfect.
So root zones are very important to me. Our sand selection is very important to me. So those will be very tightly specced and watched, so that we don't have any water or drainage problems.
Absolutely. When it comes to the construction, obviously, you've got the domes, but we also have all these synthetic surfaces that you guys are converting. The subgrade's obviously critical, and the selection of all these different things. What are some of the construction aspects that you think you guys will have a really big hand in sort of just ensuring that everything is going to be perfect when it goes in and prepped, if that makes sense? Sorry if that was a little out there.
I think I know what you mean, but so yeah, each of these indoor stadiums are artificial, and of the 11 of the stadiums I could speak for, I can't speak for the training pitches at this point. The stadiums, the 8 artificial turf stadiums, will remove the artificial grass. So we're going to be working from, there'll be just complete builds on the outdoor stadiums to it, which you can do.
Yes.
But the indoor ones, we're going to have variabilities of, there's a porous asphalt in one stadium to a non-draining concrete floors in a couple other stadiums that we have to figure out that are flat. We're going to need a way to
grade,
but have a 0.5% slope or something like that potentially, but also have drainage that we can way to pull water in and out, a little bit.
Depending on the game and what's going on, for sure.
And there'll be different variances in the depths of the profiles because of sight lines. So these dome stadiums are built to have artificial turf, and when you got to build a system for grass, ideally you'd build a whole profile that you would normally do, 12 inches over 4 inches of gravel, 12 inches of sand, but that would lose a sight line around the stadium, and that's a lot of seats that you would lose out on, and that's a lot of revenue. So we can't do that. And some of these,
don't you love how they just make it more difficult for you? Let's just can we worry about the pitch that they're playing on more than the fan experience for once?
Yeah, I guess what's funny is that we've been thinking about this for 2.5 years. Everybody else thinking about it for 2.5 hours. We've been.
I like to think like 2 weeks maybe. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So in events and everything that's going on, what are you looking forward to? What are you working with them, and obviously everything's going into it. What is you're most excited about when it comes to your work again in Mexico City?
Well, the first thing is going ahead and start picking up the stuff and the technical systems we're going to use. I mean,
for sure,
we are very excited about what's going to come new in terms of hybrid systems, the vacuum and ventilation. Of course, all the new toys and the new machinery that we use of that, and then just get ahead and learn and start managing this new process and this new technology. I think this is one of the most important things and one of the most challenging, but at the same time, every time you learn a new process, it's very exciting when you about this.
For sure.
So this is what I see that from the first. I think one of the things that very important too is change the mindset of the pay. That's going to be key because people is used to do the things of the same process for 10, 15 years, and down in Mexico, some other places probably not. We don't have the same advantage of the world. So for changing that mindset, bring the right people or keep the right people, because in that process, of course, some people will come and go. It's going to be a very important. It's going to be one of the keys to have it right. And in terms of the events and an operation for a venue, we have to remind that our candidacy and our bid was based on sustainable process. And that sustainable process meant to choose a candidacy that could have everything on site or ready to go, independently from making changes that, of course, are going to be necessary because of the fan experience and the tournament and the improvement of the game. But at that point, what I mean by that is that we are active and living builds. So one of the most important to keep in mind, and the most challenging and of course exciting so many ways, is how are we going to manage the time and the frame window between a lot of things that we are having now. Just for example, after pandemics, as Venice, we have experimented having more events than the last 5 years because everybody came out from the pandemic, tried to recover all the business, and of course they want to clear their minds by going out, having fun.
Yeah.
So it's like an avalanche of excitement and events. So that's very important because we have not 4 years like any other tournament. We only have 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And being an active building will demand us to be very creative, very, very agile in taking decisions and choosing the right projects to fit in between what we are changing towards the trade to the sense of
It's incredible. And what goes into a FIFA World Cup is so much more than any of us even could fathom. And working with Alan and all that you guys are doing, what is it like sort of developing those relationships with the people at FIFA and ensuring, again, you guys are all working towards the same goal, and your research is, again, obviously the baseline of player safety and ensuring that for those 60 days, those pitches are perfect. And what are some of those relationships like in developing and being a part of, again, FIFA as a whole?
I think what I've really enjoyed is the way watching how Alan can orchestrate a lot of moving parts, and he can bring together a lot of different things to reach the goal that we're all trying to reach. And so, for him leading this project, it's pretty cool to just be able to be a part and work for him on this. It's been a like Trey said, we've been thinking about this and working on this for 2.5 years, and a lot of with communicating with Alan and Kai. And it's been an education too for us, because this is the first time FIFA's supported research and built their research program. And that's a big part of the story as well that should be spoken about. And because we're some of the things that we haven't really touched on or talked about over the next couple of years are some sustainable projects that this is going to be. So we're going to be doing some things that we're experimenting with that will hopefully be some groundbreaking areas. For sure.
Absolutely, for sure. Some of the things that, again, come with your work is sort of setting that precedent. Do you guys sort of see your work and the impact of the actual World Cup sort of translating into, again, sports in America and North America, and it all, like, just sort of impacting how we move forward, I think Adam did it at the lunch with DeMarie Smith. Does it set that precedent moving forward, your guys' work, when it comes to managing sports fields? How do you sort of see that having a role in the future of sports field management?
It's an opportunity. I mean, most of the time, sports field or sports turf research is a shoestring budget.
Absolutely.
Golf has driven most turf grass advances over the last 100 years. There's a couple of exceptions. John was a part of one with some of his work at the University of Tennessee, and then I think the World Cup in '94. I'm not sure there's been a lot of others after that. And now here comes another. So we have a responsibility to make sure that we leave this legacy and that we provide information that can be used at every level. But I think the important thing there is we've had enough experience to know that is our job.
100%. And I sort of touched on this, but personally for you guys, when it comes to research, there are so many different aspects that you guys come up with that I'm just blown away with. Like, where did you even come up with that? Like, when it comes to like ball roll and everything you're researching, interaction between players and surfaces and all these things, what are some of the challenges you think you guys are going to be able to sort of master through this process when it comes to having the research that you've developed and having the funding to be able to have that significant research? What are some of those challenges you're excited to face when it comes to your research and obviously implementing different things coming to your facilities?
I think, like I said, we're going to learn off of the initial research we're doing, and it's going to continue to grow. But it's a contribution to the science and the changing of the science. We're taught as academicians that a research project isn't done until it's published in peer-reviewed literature. But this is something that's a research project isn't done until it's published in peer-reviewed literature and has a practical application. And what it does to help make sports fields, not just for this World Cup, but for hopefully even K through 12 or in other countries beyond these 3 countries, better, and bring the visibility to it. I remember the World Cup in '94, they said that project in the Silverdome brought more recognition to Michigan State University than all other things in the history of the university combined, including Magic Johnson. So, bringing the visibility and the key to life.
So applause to that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's incredible.
This is something that we got an opportunity as universities to hopefully provide in a foundation for other universities and other people with turf programs to get visibility to help make sports fields better all around the world, I hope.
truly. That again, that's what's so exciting. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I was thinking while John was talking is one of the opportunities that we have is to spread knowledge. This research is going to be very important. I know there's a common way to do it here in the U.S., but I think that doing this is going to be a leverage and a powerful chance for other places like the Latin America, the Midwest, whatever, in other countries that don't still have that kind of technology development to embrace this process and spread the way we engage with this, do the research and go to the state of the art process.
Absolutely. And Dr. Sorochan, we've talked about it many times when it comes to sort of the next generation of sports field managers. One of the big things that I've actually talked about a lot here at this event is the next generation of researchers. You know, when it comes to your guys' work, how has it been sort of bringing those next generation and allowing them this opportunity? What has that meant for you and both of your careers when it comes to obviously having such a great event, but also providing that for that next generation who are going to, hopefully in 20 years, going to be that next FIFA World Cup moving forward?
Yeah, you know, I learned more from my graduate students, I think, than they learn from me when it's all over. You know, because they're the ones doing the work and the efforts, and they come up with creative ways to solve problems, and that's what I really like to see. And so, being able to help train and give them the foundation and the scientific methodology to prepare them to become their own independent thinkers of research is I think what's important, and especially when you look at, you know, the state of turfgrass programs, and I think graduates coming out of graduate programs tend to be going to industry more so for the jobs. And so I think we need to really keep an emphasis on the importance of turfgrass research and people being in turfgrass research. And I hope that we can keep building that from just our two universities and the other land-grant universities in the United States.
Absolutely. How about at Michigan State?
I think the same thing. Really, there's not. John and I have a lot of similar philosophies when it comes to training graduate students. I know the ones we have now are very dedicated and editor. You know, I think even are leaning toward academia, and as long as they're leaning toward academia, we want to continue and cultivate that, and that way we ensure that we have these graduate students, and more importantly, ensure that we have researchers for our future.
Absolutely. And really, when it comes to that work and bringing that next generation in, what are some of the things you guys have done to obviously inspire these kids? And I should say kids, they're adults, but inspire that next generation. What are you guys, and again, what I love about you guys together, you were his grad student and everything, and it's coming full circle on this project. What has it been like to see something like that happen, and you're now doing that for someone else?
From our standpoint, we've had a strong educational program at Michigan State since I've been. Okay, so the height of the early 2000s, we had 200 turfgrass lanes. I've been very used to having anywhere from 100 to 200 turfgrass students all the time. Well, you can pick good graduate students out of that. So I've been very, very fortunate there, because most of mine have been homegrown. And so
that's awesome.
Been able to watch them as they mature and watch their ability to reason, see around the bend, as you say. And so I've been very fortunate at Michigan State.
Okay, so
I've been very fortunate in the components of, I've learned, and I had to learn, and I was trained, and Trey actually taught me to learn to identify talents and people that you can see it in people. They separate themselves from the herd, and they come out that, the ones that want to do it and are going to be excellent at it. And it's having relationships. It's all about the communication and the relationships with people at other universities as well. Dr. Karcher, Doug Karcher, now a department head at Ohio State, we've exchanged a lot of graduate students over the years back and forth, and we trained, and it's doing things like that he can help grow and cultivate, bring students from other places and grow them for sure.
And how about for you when it comes to your work, bringing in that next group? Obviously, there are so many things that are going on that you need to rely on them to really make sure that everything's operating at full potential and optimal. ways. So what's sort of been your passion when it comes to that, to the front with your work?
Well, I think many things. I think one of the things is that you have to love the game to be part of it. So that's where it starts. And if you doesn't love the game, you are not passionate about it, there's no commitment. So I try to start with my people to communicate them, to assure that they are really doing what they like, and try to make them ambitious of what they're facing, what they're going to learn. And of course, something that is very important is trying to make them to know how important they are. We have this speaking about what our position as betting manager, but as tour manager is in the industry. And it's a key position, because if there's no hands to manage those fields, if there's all these minds or these students that, as John says, they are the one that taught us finesse. But students become to be the teachers of us all the time, as well as our crews, because they are the ones that execute. They are the only ones who know better how the field and how the pitches behave. It's like their son. So I agree with Trey and John. I think I learned the most from them. And one of the things that we have to do all the time is make them be excited and be compromised about it, and have the courage to fight for them, for being recognized, and to be given back what they need to do to their job. I think this is probably the most important thing. And of course, in a World Cup like that, they need to be seen. They need to be part of it in all the senses.
Well, I'm very excited to see your guys' impact and everything. Is there anything you guys want to share when it comes to the work and everything that people should know and people should be listening, looking forward to when it comes to, again, in 4 years, the incredible work you guys are going to be putting on full display for all of us in the world, really?
I think it's a team effort. And I think Alan kind of that. We're a united team, and it's, to be able to work with Chema and talk to him, someone that I've known before all of this started. So I think it's that opportunity to do all that, and then there's more people getting involved as this continues to grow. That's gonna be the good part.
No question. It's kind of a full circle for me in that the first, in 1994 was kind of the start of my career. Then all of a sudden, this will be getting toward the twilight of my career.
The young days.
I didn't really predict this would be something I would do at this stage in my life. I mean, I was moving in a different direction, and so I owe it to John for talking me into doing this.
We pulled him back in now.
It was a no-brainer. Trey was a very. I was with him for 11 years as my mentor, so he was like a brother and a father figure to me. So yeah, without a doubt, it was it's a great opportunity to be able to work with him again and talk, because I've been at Tennessee almost 21 years, and I started my own program and went on my own, and he set me free, kind of thing. But now to get together and we talk on almost a daily basis or multiple times a day, and that's been really awesome.
It's just special. That's awesome. Yeah. Right.
Well, I agree with Albert. I think unity, love, unity. I remember this since 2017 when I started to work in the committee. Of course, one of the things that I liked the most and was expecting to work on was the grass, but the whole concept of being a united beat that is becoming true, like working with friends like John and Trey, that are mentors. They teach us, they embrace us to guide us through the way. And of course, in this very fortunate and key moment of the industry, not only in our countries, not only in FIFA, but around the world, in this sense that becoming just one body is to me the most important. I think that becoming real with friends is the most important thing to do. I mean, you can do whatever. What I learned from my jobs is the only thing that lasts forever after doing this huge problem is the people that are not working and those relations that become friends and enrich your life. That's the biggest takeaway by those.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough for sharing that. It's truly incredible. I am so excited to see everything that's going on. I know my students are so excited for everything that you guys are doing. We'll be watching closely along the way. And again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time here today. So
bring your students up on a field trip.
That'd be great.
100%.
That'd be awesome for sure. Again, I can't thank you enough.
All right.
Of course, they're
Thank you.
Mexico.